Okay, guys, welcome back. It's Laughing Games here. I'm gonna put on some Starcraft music as we start off this video because I feel like you guys should listen to something more than just me rambling, but this is something important to ramble about. It is who or which nation is the greatest nation in StarCraft 2. And that's obvious, it's Korea. But we're talking about a whole dang list. I've been spamming the crap out of this TL thread. Some random guy, if we zoom in here, called, hold on, it's the right way, Luxon, is saying, there's always a GOAT, but let's talk about the top SC2 countries. So for starters, we're saying this is top StarCraft 2 countries, not one player. So before you guys all say Finland's the best because of Cyril, shut up. We're gonna go through this a little bit. You guys can let me know in the comments down below who you think is the better player, but this is my debate, and I love StarCraft, so, and I followed a lot of the scene. I love StarCraft. That song is a little bit too dramatic for this, but here's another one. But those are 2 per country. The Nation Wars result, that's false. Nation Wars has actually been 3 players for the majority of its history. The last Nation Wars was crap, where they only had 2 players and they only voted in 1. So the last Nation Wars was bad. Then O Gaming disbanded shortly after that for other reasons. But is it even possible to get that from Wikipedia? Actually, no. And that's unfortunate. There's player lists on Wikipedia for countries. Like, I can go to Moss's Wikipedia page. It'll say he's a Canadian/Korean player. I can click on Canadian players, and this is all it gives me. Unless I go through all of these individually, it's a bit of a nightmare. So, for starters, we're going off a lot of our own personal knowledge. And we can go, and we're going to look through some other things. But anyway, here we are. So, is it even possible to get this information? No. So this is why I'm going to tell you guys which are the greatest StarCraft 2 nations in history. I found this old post. Let's actually take a look at the old post. It seems like Korea, Canada, well, you see Canada's in second, so it's already, I mean, this is from 2010, so I don't even know. Canada is pretty good, but Korea's obviously the best. 2010 obviously isn't too important. Call me biased, but the game was in its absolute infancy of pro players. When I watch SC2, I don't really pay attention to where the players come from, but it's interesting to see which flags show up the most. Very true. If you watch StarCraft 2 in the past, before 2015, even 2016, 17, 18 for international tournaments, it was always, you were literally just looking for a flag that wasn't Korean. And so we have Canada had some big ones like Huck and Scarlet. Huck was a long time ago at this point. Germany currently with Showtime, Gabe, and Lambeau. France, Clem Stefano. I think France is the undoubted second. And that's because they have such a lineup. Like, Petit Drogo, he won 1 Premier Tournament. So then you've got Clem Stefano, Petit Drogo, Denver Marine Lord, Daishi was good for a time. I'm definitely forgetting someone. I'll look at my own post to remember that. Korea had some good ones like Pig Baby and Guinea Pig. I never saw Pig Baby, but I know Pig Baby. Pig Baby was honestly not the best Korean player. He won a couple of American events because he couldn't win in Korea, and then he retired. Honestly, the best move he could have made because there's no way he could have kept up with the other good players. So he actually had an awesome career. Guinea Pig. I've honestly never heard of Guinea Pig, so we're going to look up who this guy is. Guinea Pig SC2. SC2. Guinea Pig. Who is this guy? So he retired in 2012. He won a GSTL with his team. Came second in a Code A. Not second in Code A. He came 17th to 32nd. So I don't even know what this guy's talking about. This guy won just over $5,000, which adjusted for inflation is probably like $500,000 today. But so yeah, we've got all this. Then we've got, jokes aside, obviously it's Korea, number 1. Obviously, there's no doubt about that. Korea, I could name off 10 players off the top of my head who were contenders for best in the world from Korea at one time or another. And then you've got all these other amazing players. Now, it gets really hard if you go past second, I think. Wax Angel made a post saying Sweden is number 3. I don't even know what he's going on about that, because there hasn't been a good Swedish player since I followed the scene. There's been some okay Swedish players, but I can tell you that sort of Zanster and Namshar are not good enough to say Sweden is number 3. And we'll probably pull up their Wikipedia profiles later. Poland number 4. Poland is number 3. Germany is number 4. I think there can be arguments made against this, but anyway, then we've had you have at least 90% of the all-time greatest SC2 players to handpick from Korea, and you go with Pig Baby. Okay, yeah, see, this guy tuned into WCS for one season and was like, that guy's the best in the world because he Tempest Rush Bomber. No, that's not the case. Korea's obviously first, yes, yada yada yada. From there it gets tricky. Finland and Italy do great. We can't count Finland and Italy unless you're saying Big Gabe is Italian, in which case they still only have 2 good players. So by that logic, Finland and Italy are out because this is best country. And I'd say Serral can carry against some countries, but one good player is not enough. You can say Wellmu's from Finland, but he's been gone for a long time. So yeah, so that's gone. Let's see. Same goes for Norway. Yeah, Snoot was really good for a time. France seems like a good number 2 pick. Absolutely. Because the quality of French players, even the ones not winning championships, like Lilbo, Stefano, or Clem, are incredible. Like, they've got great back players like DNS. Then they've just, of course, had guys like Stefano, Petit Rogo, even Shadone is good on the ladder. And in online captain has been playing for a long time. I'm going to scroll to my own post here. Like, there's Denver, Daishi. They were all great. They even had their own local tournaments up until like 2017 with underdogs, and they were actually fairly competitive. Then Poland number 3, no doubt about that. Nurcio, Elazer, and Mana. Mana's been around forever. Nurcio was around for a long time. So they're incredible. I've been looking at the Nation Wars results. If we go back to the very first Nation Wars, I mean, there's all those casters. That's a throwback. You can see Norway won the first one. Notably, Korea wasn't invited, probably because ping. And it was an online cup, I believe. Yeah, of course it was. So notably, Norway won. They beat Russia. Happy was good, and Russia is competitive. I will say that Russia has been competitive. They've had guys like Skillis, Strange, Cougar. They've all had good series and tournaments in which they had close matches against the eventual championship, if I recall correctly. So yeah, Russia was competitive, but they haven't had good success in like a long time. They had good players, but no good success. And I think for your nation to be good, you need at least one like championship player, which is actually an argument against my own country, Canada. So, if we go back to my rambling of greatest SC2 nations and keep reading what these guys said, this guy, Balnaza, says South Korea number 1, obviously France number 2, good job number 3, Poland number 4, Sweden. See, this is where we see it again. Sweden number 4, Sweden number 3. I just don't buy it. Like, to put Sweden over Germany, like, Showtime has been good in the and Hero Marine have been good. Lambo's been good in the competitive part of StarCraft 2, like the most competitive. Post 2014, 2013 was pretty darn competitive. 2012, the tournament scene was sort of getting into its groove. But yeah, to say that, I think like Sweden has a really good lineup, but the players have been underwhelming. Like, I can look up Namshar, and we're going to see his results. Like, he's played some online cups. Actually, in the early opens, he had some success, so good for him. He's not really playing too much anymore. But we're talking about like the older results because we know he hasn't had any majorly big results. His last good result was actually in the WCS 2018 Valencia qualifier. That was actually pretty decent. So going up, losing to Cyril, but then he beat. This was back when there was still the region lock, of course. Or was it whole region lock? Yeah, it was whole region lock back here. Yeah, back when Cyril was stomping everyone. So that was actually impressive. So of course he qualified to the main event, but then where's Namshar's name? Yeah, he went out in the group stage. So that was his last good result in that qualifier. Then he like lost to Cyril in some Nordic Championship. WCS Montreal, he actually came Europe again. He came second to Showtime. So he was doing good locally for a time before Cyril. Well, Cyril was actually pretty good at this time. He was still going up there though. And then, but as far as like big tournaments win against Koreans go, like he doesn't have any huge results or anything like that. And so Namchar, his biggest tournament result was like less than $2,000 in some Nordic only tournaments. WSG, he had some decent results, but yeah, like his results haven't been amazing in a lot of recent time. The better Zerg player is Zanster for Sweden, as I go on a complete tangent here, because this really is one of the main arguments. 2014 he beat Thorzane. WCS 2015 he came third to fourth to the eventual loser or second place. No, to the eventual winner, Lilbao. Lilbao won this season. He came third to fourth. Again, it was still region locked, but he still had some really good results. Like if we look at his overall prize money, he won some decent cups, came second in a couple. And so yeah, Zanster was competitive. Only less than 70 grand in overall prize winnings. And so that's the thing, like they had players that you'd consider good in Sweden. Same goes for Sort of. Sort of probably the most disappointing of them all. Like he had some really good results, or he had some really good ladder skills. He practiced like non-stop, playing a lot of online cups. But as far as like big results goes, like there is not a lot. I mean, going back 2016 Challengers Europe, he came second over Welmu. Welmu was actually active up until 2016, which is notable. But yeah, like, and he actually beat Thorzane at a local LAN. But yeah, like same thing. Good player in the local scene, good on the ladder, but not good enough to say Sweden is an amazing country, because they don't really have like a big champion to carry them and then the solid lineup to back it up. Whereas, for example, Showtime's had won at least one cup. He's been the runner-up for years. We've had Big Gabe, who's just been stomping in the open cups, that sort of thing. And then I don't think Big Gabe's won too many big tournaments, but he's had some good results in recent times, and he's been playing for years and years. So the German players definitely outshine the Swedish ones, unless you want to talk about like the very early Swedish ones, and I know I'd be doing a disservice by not talking about Naniwa and Thorzane. They are good. Like Thorzane won 100 grand in his pretty short career. Like he did play in GSL. I know he had his results there, top 4 I think it was. Like, and so him and Naniwa were very good for some time. I mean, we had, yeah, so it's like Naniwa, Thorzane, they both won a decent amount of money in a short amount of time. But then they, after like 2015, they were pretty much non-factors for the most part. And so then it's like, if you want to look in the past 8 years, which it pains me to say, but that was 8 years ago, 2015, you kind of need some results, or at least some players looking good on ladder, or at least doing well in qualifiers, that kind of thing. And we haven't seen that. And so, as this video approaches 15 minutes of me rambling, we see, I think Germany does beat Sweden. And then it's just debatable for the rest. We've got my own posts here. I started like posting and then I'm like, wait, there's a lot more to this, guys. And so, like, Germany does lack earlier results like Sweden does. Like, they did not have a Thorzane, they did not have a Naniwa like Sweden. But then I think that, like, on the back end, where we can say StarCraft 2 is more competitive, that they make up for it. And so that's why Germany beats Sweden. And then I'd say Canada beats Sweden too. Just because of, like, Masa, Scarlet, and Huck. Huck was good. Scarlet's been pretty good for the majority of the time. I'm not one of those players that's going to say Scarlet's, like, a top Zerg or anything, but she's had some good tournament results. I'll even be one of the players to say that, like, she hasn't won too many big cups because of, like, the IEM was more of an invitational than anything during a heavily favored Zerg patch. But Scarlet's had a pretty long career. Longer than most of those Swedish players with better results. And then we're talking about overall nation consistency. So, yeah. I'm going to go with Canada beat Sweden because of that. Because, like, Masa went on a tear for a time. He did incredibly well in the local scene. He played in some really good LAN games, that sort of thing, for a player who was kind of, like, part-time. And then we had Huck, who we have to include. So then I'd say Sweden. USA, Neeb. Like, I wasn't around for Idra's time. I wasn't around for Thorzane or Naniwa, so I could be misinformed for this. So, like, USA, and then just because of guys like... Hold on, I wrote their players down. Yeah, USA because of Idra. I think Safi was probably the next best, because he was maybe like Xenocider. I don't know, honestly. Neeb and Idra, of course, are talked about a lot. Neeb's no doubt incredible with his GSL run, that kind of thing. So I'd say USA, that because they sort of had the deeper lineup. Netherlands had Harstem and Euthermal, who were champions, so I think they have to be next. Even though Optimus, their third player, kind of lags behind a little bit. Maybe I'm forgetting someone from the Netherlands, if so, pardon me. Then I'd say Mexico just because of special. Like, he's won almost 500 grand in his career. He's had a really long career. Then there's Cham. Even Jim Rising, who was a ladder champ for a time. So they're pretty decent players. And then it's pretty much just like a toss-up between all the rest. So yeah, this is my list. Korea. Because it's Korea. Like, you can say Finland, who's not on the list because it's just Cyril who was good. Kinda Wellmu for a time. We're not counting Italy either, because it's pretty much just Raynor. So then it's France, who's had some incredible players, best players in the world at a time. Poland, who's had 4 really good pro players who are still good today for the most part, minus Darcio. Then Germany, they've had an incredible scene for a long time. Showtime, Hero Marine, like, they've been really good. I apologize for my lack of looking at the camera. I'm looking at these posts, so I'm sort of just staring away. And then it's Canada. Like, it's honestly a toss-up 5-on. Like, I see the arguments for Sweden, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Canada. Just because, like, Scarlet's been really good still, whereas Sweden is non-competitive at this point. And so, yeah. I mean, we could look at overall Nation Wars results. Like, first was Norway, Russia, Ukraine, Germany. Germany was the first on my list that's counted there. Norway doesn't really count too much. Then Norway won again, so gosh bless Snoot. They did have Targa. And then it's actually Mexico next, so well done to Mexico defending themselves. But then France, Poland, Sweden, Canada are in there too. Nation Wars 3 was won by France, Poland follow-up, Finland, South Korea, then Canada's in there again. I don't see Sweden. Sweden's 9th to 12th. 9th to 12th. Canada's top 3 again in Nation Wars. Not that Nation Wars is the staple for good players. But yeah. Then Germany's in there too, Netherlands. So you see where I'm sort of making all my points from. But Poland came second in that one. Nation Wars 5. Netherlands. That was off the back of their really good Harstem, Euthermal, and Optimus. Yeah, so you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. unless I'm forgetting like some really good players from the past, I think my statement sticks. I know Nation Wars sort of switched to a format in Nation Wars 2019 that was more friendly, single-player nations. I'll say controversially. I think they switched it anyway. Single elimination. Then they had additional ace match for the grand finals. They did have one revive, I think. Yeah, so they had one revive. Or no, it was a lineup and then a revive. Anyway. Yeah, so that's that. That's my list. I'm sticking to it. Prove me wrong. I can really only defend the top 4. Top 3, absolutely. 4, like, you can argue against Germany, but I think Showtime and Big Gabe are too good to not. Thanks for watching. I'll do a bots video soon. Take care, guys.